Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run. And it's been a flight sim filled week featuring Star Citizen, Elite Dangerous, and of course, Rise of Flight. Sort of. Anyway, if you do manage to stay in the sky for longer than 2 minutes, I'm sure you'll have quite a bit of fun with this title. It's nothing new, it's been out for several years, but I'm just now kind of rediscovering it. I did play it once before, but without a TrackIR. I can say that the experience is a whole lot better with head tracking, and I'm sure most of you know that. But with that said, this is Rise of Flight United. If you want to look that up on Steam, it is free to download. However, you are limited to 3 planes. If you want more, you'll have to buy them individually or perhaps within some sort of expansion pack. I think they go on sale quite often, so I'd keep an eye out for that. But there is a lot to do in the free demo. As you can see here, we are taking it to this plane. Some good shots in. He's down. Unfortunately, not a real player, just a bot. This was a multiplayer training server. I was joined by Jojcib and a few other live stream viewers. Earlier that day I had done some gunning for Bismarck when he joined us, but it was only against AI as well. And then we did a multiplayer server, and not a lot of action there. Bismarck managed to shoot down an allied balloon, and then once we landed, he pulled out his revolver and shot me in the face 3 times apparently. That's how I'm to be rewarded, I suppose, in this game. With friends like Biz, who needs enemies? But other than that, the game has been a lot of fun. And if you want to check out some channels, I'll have links to Jojcib and Bismarck in the description below, as they do tend to cover this game from time to time. Now, with all of that said, if you are perhaps considering flight simulations for the first time, or maybe you want to upgrade to something more realistic, but you are perhaps intimidated by World War II craft or jets, then this is not a bad first step. I find these airplanes to be a lot easier to control. Let's face it, they are less powerful, they're lighter. The flight dynamics of a biplane or a triplane, I guess, that has a lot to do with it as well. But yeah, for me, a flight sim novice, these planes are easier to control. Even though I've crashed several of them in my attempts to get used to the game, I can tell you that the number of planes I've crashed in the World War I variety is far less than that of something you might find in IL-2, which I do also own. The games are made by the same company. I don't want to say the same developer because devs come and go. You never know if it's actually the same people or not. But from what I've been told, this game had a rough start, as IL-2 appears to be having right now. Maybe one day, years from now, that game will be just as polished as Rise of Flight. Anyways, in regards to channel coverage for this title, probably not. I think I'll limit it to live stream highlights, perhaps via the Strafing Run, as you're seeing here. I don't want to invest too much time or money into this game, simply because my plate is quite full, especially going forward into this new year. I've got Elite Dangerous, Star Citizen, maybe Tom Clancy's The Division. We'll see how that goes. I know there's a beta this week. If I can get into that, I'll have footage and perhaps a few live streams available for you. Beyond that, Star Wars Battlefront, yearly DLC content. Still want to cover some of that. And I'm sure there's other things out there that I'm completely forgetting about. But yeah, being a variety gamer, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. But yeah, definitely worth checking out the demo. There's a lot here. There is a lot of content within Rise of Flight United, and I'll have it linked in the description below. But man, remember when developers weren't afraid to provide you with demos, where they would give you a nice little chunk of the game for free so that you could check it out, so that you'd then want to buy the rest? There was no such thing as buying into a beta, an alpha, any type of early access. It was just, hey, we're proud of this thing. We're not afraid to share a little bit of it. Maybe you'll want to buy the rest. Here you go. Those were the good old days. But anyways, ladies and gents, it is time for something completely different. Elite Dangerous, and this time in the Viper Mark IV. Just getting out of the Mark III. I didn't know I had access to the ship until recently. Kind of found it by accident. It was labeled as a stored vessel within one of the space stations in this game, and looked it up, and apparently a lot of people got these things for free if you had, I guess, backed the title at a certain point in time. So, went after it, and spent probably way too much money upgrading it. I mean, it's okay. It's a little bit more, well, it's probably a lot more durable than the Mark III. Has a better FSD, and looks a touch cooler. Kind of has like this spoiler on the back. Otherwise, everything else seems to be pretty similar to the Mark III. It's less maneuverable, but hey, whatever. It's a Mark IV. 4 is better than 3. It should be good. We'll see. It still has the tactical bacon on the interior, left and right, for emergency consumption. We should always have tactical bacon. I plan to put some in my car. More, I mean, because I've already devoured what was there. Anyways, we're fighting. This is for the great Republic of Zachary Hudson. And I finally found a way to fight for the Federation. Had to travel quite a ways out to get here, but whether it's worth it, I don't know. Still kind of learning about fighting within the power play mode of the game. It seems interesting, but I don't know if it's necessarily the best way to make money. It seems like here when you kill a ship, you don't get anything instantly. You get something that you can then turn in. For Zachary Hudson, you get some like merits or something like that. And I don't know what that then goes to. I got a lot to learn. And of course, the learning curve within this game is quite steep, so that might take a while. But I will say it was actually kind of fun engaging in combat here because it gave me a little bit more purpose. And within this game, it's so sandboxy that you often feel like you can't figure out what to do without looking something up. And, you know, bounty hunting, space trucking, doing bulletin board missions, things like that. It gets old. I mean, everything gets old, but this, at least I felt like I was fighting for a cause. It made me feel like a bigger deal. So, you know, I enjoyed it. Will I enjoy it for a long period of time? Probably not, but hey, it's something different. And I did recently purchase the Horizons expansion pack. I was holding off simply because I wasn't sure that it was worth it at this point in time. A lot of people seem to think that it's not, but it is a season pass, so it's not done yet. You know, that money that you're throwing towards Horizons is a year's worth of content. I feel like a lot of people are forgetting that. But yeah, is it worth it right now? You have to look at the list of features currently available and then make your decision. Again, most people will say not right now, and that's why I've held off, but I figured, you know what? I'm seeing people do these planetary landings or these moon landings, whatever they are, and it looks fun. You know, if I get a week or two out of it, then okay, it was worth the $44 discounted price. Why not? You know, I always go back to Elite, and I always enjoy it for a little bit, and if I can get some fun out of it, then hey, I've spent larger amounts of money on worse games. So right now, though, just trying to still get better with my flight maneuvers. I know that I could be doing a better job at flying and targeting subsystems, and just in general taking on these enemies from directions that will allow me to not receive as much damage. Here, this was just easy. This is all, you know, fighting against AI, and we have a lot of backup, and so it's not very difficult. I don't even think I had my shields dropped at all during this encounter, but if anything, it looks cool. You know, you've got the smoke trails and the tracer fire all over the place, ships exploding. It could maybe use a little bit more intensity. Like, it would be interesting if there was background voiceover, like communications, people adding to the ambience, perhaps, but it makes me want to be part of a in-game military organization. It would be cool, I think, if there were more jobs for military personnel or private contractors to the effect of feeling like you matter or that you're a part of something greater. This game often leaves you to do your own thing, but most of the time you're having to actually look up what to do because the game doesn't explain anything. And I'm all for learning curve and challenges and things like that, but it doesn't even, they say it doesn't hold your hand, but it doesn't even hold your pinky. It does not. It's like, here's your ship, here's a couple basic tutorials, bye. I was like, okay. And most of the time, my live stream viewers are helping me, or I'm looking something up on a website. And if I have to leave the game to figure out how to play it, I tend to have a problem with that. I don't think that that's great game design. And again, right now, guys, I'm just nitpicking. Like, the game has a lot to offer. There's a lot of cool stuff under the hood. But there are definitely things that I think it could do better. On top of that, the group system, if you even want to call it that, is pretty bad. The wing system, I guess it's officially labeled. It's just so glitchy. Half the time you try to wing up with some friends and you can't find each other. And sadly, this just seems to happen far too often. Tried to wing up with somebody in Australia recently on several occasions. Couldn't do it. And it just seemed like it was out of our control. And that was unfortunate. I'm okay with developers making a game that they want to play, but I tend to have issues with missing or broken basic functions, especially in this day and age. When you exclude the ability to easily play with your buddies, I can't help but wonder, are they even thinking about it? And this is something that should be basic. The game has been out for as long as it has now, and group functionality is the joke that it currently is. I have a problem with that, and I know a lot of you do too, because you have friends. Well, hopefully. But in other news, at least my TrackIR is functioning properly. I've managed to tweak it a little bit more for Elite. Seems to be a tad smoother. I adjusted the infrared lights in the camera itself so that they're brighter, which means it helps to pick up the reflectors I use on my hat. Some people are saying to use the microphone or headset clip that you can get, the TrackIR Pro thing. But really the piece of plastic that clamps onto your headset for that thing is really cheap. And I feel like it's going to break. But I might play around with that a little bit more because that thing also has some lights that reflect back to the device. So apparently it's more precise when using that. But we'll see how I can attach it to my headphones. Beyond that, yeah, I still love that thing. It's one of the best pieces of hardware I've ever had. And it's hard to play a game without it. I love Star Citizen, and jumping into there and not being able to look around, you feel like you're in a TIE fighter and you can only look forward. There's obviously other ways to look around in the cockpit with analog sticks and things like that, but it's not as simple and it's fairly clunky, so I'm waiting for that support to return, hopefully sometime soon. Beyond that, I'm playing around with joysticks a lot more. Obviously Rise of Flight, obviously here in Elite, but experimenting more with my flight stick in Star Citizen. Fixed weapons, heavier fixed weapons versus gimbaled and mouse and keyboard. Trying to see if I can get into that because I really do want to get a HOTAS set up for immersion purposes, but I've been on the fence simply because there's a lot of flight sticks and HOTAS setups out there that are just not reliable. They don't last very long, and so I don't really want to spend a lot of money on something that's going to break. I guess I'll just keep shopping around. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring today's episode of the Strafing Run to a close. Make sure to check out the links in the description below. A follow on Twitter is always helpful, as it does allow me to keep you up to date with videos, live streams, and of course random shenanigans. So with that said, thank you so much for joining me, and I will definitely see you on the next one.